Revenue Forum is a non-profit initiative started by me in 2008. We currently organize webinars. We do this now every 6 weeks on Thursdays. We have half-day seminars in 10 cities and 8 countries, and we're going to start with that again at the beginning of next year. We have whole-day events. The first one being held now in Tuesday. It's a hybrid event, which is going to be held simultaneously in London, Stockholm, Rimini, and online. And it's about the most scary thing I've done for a very long time. Now, the topic of this episode, of this webinar, is the power of mobile. And we've asked 4 expert panelists to speak about the topic. All 4 of them are going to have 5 minutes first to introduce their view on the topic. We do this in the Pecha format, and this time all the speakers will have slides which automatically change after 30 seconds. And we introduce our speakers, starting with Oliver Geldner, my colleague. Please, Oliver, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Oliver. I am working with Anne-Marie at Taktikon, and I'll be opening today's panel with some information on mobile conversions in hotel and travel.
So I'm Ben from Quicktext. We will be discussing like how to leverage customer interactions through mobile to drive direct bookings.
Hi everyone, I'm Nicola or Nikki Graham. I'm the VP of Marketing at Cendyn, and I'm going to be talking about enhancing the mobile booking journey with first-party data.
Hello everybody, I'm Hollie McHugh. I'm the Marketing Director at Net Affinity, and today I'm going to be talking about putting mobile at the heart of your hotel's guest engagement strategy.
And I will be the moderator. My name is Anne-Marie Kubanski. Apart from the organizer of this webinar and a few events and seminars, I'm actually the founder and CEO of Taktikon, and Oliver has told all about that. And let's see if we can go to our first speaker, which is Oliver. Oliver, go ahead.
Well, let's do this. My name is Oliver Geldner, and I am the technically CTO of Taktikon, mainly in charge of technology audits. We're helping our clients to find the right technology components for their lodging operations. Today, we'll be addressing the growth and development of mobile search in bookings and travel. The reason why I mention search and booking separately is because there's a difference in customer behavior in how they search for a destination and how they book the reservation between desktop, tablet, and mobile. Volumes in search on mobile are consistently on the rise, and historically, the actual conversion or the ratio of bookings versus search was a lot higher on desktop than it was on mobile. The assumption being that customers were using their mobiles to look up information and rates and then to make their booking on their laptop. This has changed dramatically. We'll be looking at some numbers shortly. It is important to point out that mobile search and booking behavior is different from region to region. We're looking at your customer source markets. So when looking at numbers, bear in mind that these are trends in behavior from the client market, how people in the source market use their mobiles, not in the destination. We're looking at source markets grouped by region. We can see that search traffic to hotel websites is largely generated by mobile devices, with up to 60% of searches being done on a mobile device. And we're looking at searches here. This points to a general trend that most website browsing is being performed mobile first. And this also points to the requirement that your online presence should not only be built primarily on desktop, but on mobile first. Mobile usability and bookability should come first. Now, why is that? Well, the reason for that is when looking at conversion, we can see that mobile search and visits to hotel websites are converting slightly lower than desktop. But if you look at the trend, they're catching up. So when we see that higher volumes on search on mobile account for an increase in conversions, there's a shift in the market, meaning more volume at almost the same level of conversion as you have on laptop. So when you're looking at the same kind of data on conversions by traffic source on desktops, which we're going to get to in a short minute, you will find that traffic is in relevant regions generated by meta search, search, and social sites. On this slide, you'll see where on the left side, you see direct bookings, and in yellow, you see the meta search, and then in pink, the search and social. You see the increase of these traffic sources, which are traffic sources which come to you from Google or Momondo or Instagram, which you pay for. And this is interesting to look at when you're looking at a typical marketing funnel, meaning where does my traffic come from and how does it get to a point of conversion? Now, if you compare this to a typical online marketing funnel, mobile search is much more first touch in the upper tier of the funnel, with less than 50% of people who access a website actually navigating product pages. From there on, less than 15% will actually look up a rate and place it in what we call the shopping basket. And even less, almost around 3%, will continue to check out, confirm, and book their reservation. Well, why is there such a huge discrepancy between the number of volume coming in on top and so little activity on the actual page? There are three main areas at play: speed, accuracy, and engagement. Speed is relevant for quick loading time and quick access to the information you need. Accuracy has to do with, is the site trusted and are the rates on parity or eventually lower? And engagement points to the interaction with the customer that is required to convert a booking or a visit to an actual booking. This has to do with why people abandon their shopping carts, meaning they look for a destination, they look for a date, they pick a product, and then they abandon their cart. The main top three reasons for abandoning carts shows that the first level of abandonment is based on rate disparity, extra cost, difference in cost. The second one is the complexity or the requirement to actually open an account. And the third is process complexity. Now, if all these reasons make people abandon their shopping carts when they're on your mobile page, you should take a look at that. If rate is the top reason for your abandonment, you need to look at your rate disparity. Now, being revenue managers and being a revenue management company, we look at this topic very, very seriously. Here's some data showing you how the primary detractor for your mobile bookings is being rate, and the data sets show that approximately 10% on every instance, there will be a different rate on the OTA site compared to on your website. So you need to get control of that, either through a revenue management tool or through strict control of your rate distribution. With all that being said, what do you do now? Well, you need to take a different approach on mobile because a large part of your volumes are coming from there. You also need to look at targeting part of your marketing towards engagement instead of just traffic direction to your website. You need to manage that engagement and then convert it. And the big lesson here is what works on your desktop may not work on your mobile. The important thing is you need to have your online media managers track and analyze your mobile customers' behavior separate from desktop. That's where you want to start. This is what I had from now, and I also want to point out that much more will be learned in the speakers that follow, and I'll thank you very much for your attention.
Well, thank you very much for that, Oliver. Interesting insights and a nice start of this webinar. Let's go to our next speaker, Benjamin. Please go ahead.
Okay, let's start. Okay. So hello, everyone. I'm Ben from Quicktext. My job is to help hotels increase their mobile sales and their sales in general, as long as they are direct, using AI, chatbots, and a little bit of common sense. The three pieces of advice that I want to deliver today are that on mobile, size doesn't matter. Mobile is an opportunity for you to expand your direct sales horizons through a lot of new platforms that enables you to create contacts and increase your point of contact with your customers. And of course, different processes need to be applied. So first, size doesn't matter. Mobile is not about size. It's not a small version of a computer. It is a completely different animal that is meant for interaction. Okay. And in fact, if you want to be able to increase your sales, you need to think mobile first and not responsive, because precisely mobile is not a small version of a computer. Okay. So basically, you need to think about how you can make your content available and engaging on demand through all the different channels that mobile offers to you, starting by your website. Okay. So do not expect customers to maintain their search behavior on mobile. In fact, it's the other way around. People behavior on mobile now influence the way people behave on the web, even on real life. Like people are less and less patient because they are becoming used to instant gratification. Okay, so my take on how to make your content engaging on mobile would be to make it as close as possible to WhatsApp conversation. First, by maybe using this channel to interact with your customers. Okay, so here, for example, I'm trying to show a chat bot conversation, a WhatsApp bot conversation, and the idea is that you need to make your content available instantly, and that's why chatbots are useful. You need to make this content available and coherent to different channels. And basically, it cannot be more than one mobile screen, okay? Just since we are seeing like different communication channels, I would like to draw your attention to Google Business Chat, okay, which is a new feature that you should very much look at, because if Google is doing it, okay, it's basically because it's what customers want, okay? In fact, I'm not even sure that there will still be websites in a couple of years, okay? It's a possibility that they will evolve or not exist. Just the idea is that now Google is transforming all the static content that you had into, well, something that is much more interactive, okay? The idea is that hotels are like pretty reluctant or to kind of move to this mobile first mentality. And right now it's the hotel staff and mainly the receptionist that is absorbing most of that work. Okay, so basically they are spending their time answering low value questions instead of maybe focusing more on following up on guests that started a conversation and didn't convert. Basically they are kind of stuck answering basic stuff instead of moving more like kind of down the funnel. That was one of the comments of the first presentation, like you can have abandonment on mobile. So here's the idea is, why don't you leverage like interactive content, maybe through chatbot, maybe if you want to use anything else, like you can. I've just not thought of anything yet that could be as good as that. The idea is that make your content available everywhere. Resolve your customers' questions because basically the idea is that like people do not search, they expect to be served. Drive them to your booking engine. If they do not book, leverage the fact that you have interaction with them to capture their name, email, phone number. That's what chatbots do automatically, once again. But if this is not enough, if once in the booking engine they do not book, don't hesitate to leverage like this information that you have taken to re-engage by email. And even like the bookings that have a strong added value, don't hesitate to use the phone and call back customers. That's how you actually drive conversion and combat abandonment. Of course, all these things require hotel to change a little bit their mindset. Okay, so basically, if we try to put things into perspective, try to leverage the whole mobile environment. Move from just showing the goods on your website and waiting for the customer to book to a more active role where you are in fact actively convincing them on an individual basis to book a room, okay? Because that's what mobile is about. It's about giving you a chance to convince people. And if people are not ready to book in one go because maybe they were just browsing, well, remember that conversations enable you to capture like qualified information about your customers, even like about their trip and contact information. Use it to re-engage through different platforms, because maybe someone was not ready to book on mobile right now, but it's the start of a relationship that you can drag on other channels and basically transform a point of contact into a relationship. So basically that's what I had to say on mobile sales. Okay, so just remember that your website is not your only mobile sales platform. I'm finishing and Marie. Conversational format helps you convert and convert through convincing your customers. And it's not only a question of technology, it's also a question of what are the processes that you set up behind. Thank you very much.
Well, Benjamin, you left me in a shock. No websites in the end. I'll just ask you a few questions about that, I'm sure. But let's go to our next speaker first, Nicola from Cendyn. Nicola, I hope you're ready for your presentation.
Great, yeah, let's go. So a new path lies ahead for us as we emerge from the pandemic and look to the future. First-party data is taking center stage as we navigate the next few years. And the information you own and collect directly from your guests is first-party data, and it includes data from your PMS, your CRM, spa software, etc. It's the cornerstone of how we manage day-to-day tasks at the hotel, but never before has it been so important, and especially in the world of mobile booking. Using first-party data, you have to enhance your mobile booking strategy, and it's a really simple way to do so and set you up for success in the long term. But how do you do that? It's easy to think you might just invest in some quick digital marketing tactics to help drive conversions, but that's just one piece of the puzzle. And if you aren't targeting the right people, it's wasted money. So before we go any further, we're going to look at a different approach, and that starts with your data. With the big tech giants starting to pave the way towards a more private future, hoteliers need to really start thinking about how they are managing the data they own and where it's stored, so they can leverage it to drive demand across different channels. With Apple already way ahead in privacy changes and Google making changes soon, it is already harder for hoteliers and the rest of us in the business to leverage third-party data to bring in new guests and drive demand in this market. So ensuring you have a place to store, access, and leverage your own first-party data is imperative. It doesn't come easy though, and because really our industry is dominated by monolithic and quite closed technology systems that have created an isolated single channel focus for hoteliers. These siloed technology systems make it quite close to impossible to gain a full picture of your database and then connect different systems that allow you to understand who your guests are and find new ones like them. So this is why we need to act now, to provide a more open, accessible technology environment that allows you to consolidate and take action on the data. So investing in a data management platform is a great first step, because it will allow you to cleanse, dedupe, and then transform that data and activate it across many different channels, including your website and other mobile booking areas. But using the perspective of the whole guest journey gives you the ability to understand which touch points you need to enhance or perhaps dial back on, depending on priority. And with many of these data points along the guest journey carried out on mobile now, as we've seen, using a data platform to centrally manage all of that data across the different touch points allows you to keep them optimized for different devices across different areas, whether that's searching discovery of when they're looking for where to book, or whether it's when they're actually booking, or even interacting with your website to learn more about the property or where they're going to be staying. Your website plays a huge role in this part of the guest journey, especially on mobile. So take the opportunity to understand what your guests are searching for when they come to your site. Who are your biggest spenders, for example, and what are they looking for in a booking? Doing this exercise with your data through a data management platform will assist you with both things like search engine optimization and SEM strategies, because this will allow you to refine the keywords to help you rank higher in the search engine when people are looking on mobile. Once you've mastered how to drive people to your site, the most important thing is driving conversions. A website is a hotel's digital storefront, as we know, and first point of engagement to visually tell its story. So when designing your mobile-first website, think about how you want to spark the visitor's desire to complete a booking with ease, and then pair that with the right technology to make that beauty and or art, as we like to think of it, come to light. The cornerstone of sophisticated websites is personalization. And personalization can reduce acquisition costs by up to 50% and increase marketing spend efficiency by between 10 and 30%. So having your website connected to a CRM or a customer data platform will allow you to leverage visitor data and guest profiles to dynamically personalize website content for every visitor. You can then set automations to run in the background based on things like feeder market origin, language, past website behavior, or even booking history. The proof really is in the numbers. A customer of ours leveraging this strategy in June last year, 2020, saw a 140% increase in mobile bookings. And shortly after, in August of 2020, saw their revenue from mobile go up 230% year over year. This approach really came from the basics, thinking about their data first, having a solid understanding of who their guests are, and then using that to reach the right ones to drive demand where they need it most. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that interesting topic. Fits quite nicely into what previously was said. So let's see maybe what the final speaker is going to talk about. Hollie, go ahead.
Hello, everybody, and thank you. You can go ahead. Thank you. Great. So if we think about today's hotel customer, at some point on their journey, they're very likely to engage with you via their mobile device, as we've already seen from the previous presentations. And whether that's during their research stage or to make their booking or during their pre or post-stay experience, they're going to engage with you. And a recent Oracle hospitality survey has found that 90% of hoteliers believe that mobile was vital to improving the guest experience. So the topic of mobile today really goes beyond just facilitating that mobile booking. And at Net Affinity, we monitor data across hundreds of clients, and we release our quarterly device trends report. And what we've witnessed over the last 2 years is really promising for the industry, and it shows that mobile conversion rates can compete with desktop. In 2021, mobile traffic and revenue has only continued to grow across the clients that we work with, and that's a range of clients. And during the summer, we've noted mobile revenue contributing 60% of clients' revenue, which is the highest we've seen, with mobile traffic at almost 77% during the summer. And based on this data, we have the evidence and the confidence that hotels really can deliver on their mobile experience and result in strong growth. But to succeed and to maximize the potential, the user experience on mobile needs to hit the right notes. You know, hotels can no longer take that back foot anymore. Mobile is definitely here to stay, and without investment and knowledge, you know, it's certain that you will only lose out. So I suppose as a company, what we've always looked at is making sure that we have that data available, that we're reviewing the mobile experience, and that we're understanding when people lose or they fall out of that funnel. So one of the key things is that you need to invest in mobile. And when we talk about investment, we're talking about it in regards to the 3 key pillars. You know, we're talking about your booking engine, technology that you're using, the digital marketing, and ensuring that you have a fully adaptive website. And when we talk about time, we're talking about the time that you spend considering and understanding your customer journey, so that you're looking at data, you're knowing when mobile plays the important role for you and for your guests, and that you understand that. But also as well that you're investing the money in relation to your online, your digital efforts, and that you're ensuring that you're investing truly what the platform is worth to you as a hotel, so that it can deliver. And when it comes to choosing the right hotel stack for your hotel, mobile should definitely be, you know, front and center of this decision. So if you're choosing a booking engine provider, it's important that they have mobile at the center of the technology. So whether that's the UX of the platform and the payment integrations which they provide, and the ability to personalize your content and messaging based on the user's device. It's also important to have access to data, so you can analyze your mobile performance, know your conversion rates, and all of this will help you to compare how you're performing and what improvements you may need to make. And you know, if you look at things like digital marketing, mobile first is the only way to approach your campaigns and your activity. As of July 2021, 98% of social engagement is on Facebook and Instagram was on a mobile device. So that speaks for itself. According to HubSpot, 50% of emails are now opened on a mobile device. So when drafting your emails, creating your ads, choosing your messages and your imagery, you must think how this will look on mobile and think mobile first. And beyond this, you know, your marketing landing pages, your booking experience are both critical in creating a smooth end-to-end mobile booking. And your website is your hotel's #1 asset, and it should allow for mobile engagement and mobile conversion. And with mobile traffic peaking at 70%, as I've said, you know, you need to create that great UX experience. So mobile users are goal orientated. And they want a responsive website so they can get things done and experience a personalized experience on your site. So ensuring your navigation is intuitive and easy, keeping your form short and sweet, avoiding confusion and clutter by avoiding distractions such as pop-ups. It's also important to think past that online experience and consider where else you need maybe to invest your time and your money. In-house experiences have definitely accelerated due to COVID, and they've kind of thrown the hotel industry into the digitalizing the in-house customer journey for the better. So mobile check-in, mobile checkout, mobile room keys, and mobile menus. And these are all products that are now available on the market, and they're forming a really important part of your hotel's tech stack today. And it's something that I think is definitely going to kind of be the future of hotels. So just to kind of sum it all up, I suppose, mobile is a huge player in your guest search and booking experience. It will only continue to grow, and conversion and performance on the platform will continue to grow. But in order to provide your guests with that ultimate mobile experience, you do need to invest time and money in them touch points to lead you back. So the technology you use, the digital marketing campaigns you run, and the website that you provide, and remember, your guest mobile experience shouldn't end at that stage. So, provide them with a hassle-free experience. I suppose just thank you for today. I know we're leading in now to a panel discussion, but if anybody would like to get access to mobile trends, data, or anything, we have them access, and I'll gladly share them with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that also, Holly. Really interesting. And I think also you touched all four of you on the same topic as to, mobile is here to stay. The questions maybe that I'm going to ask you in a moment also is, how do you see then mobile compared to your own website? But maybe if we can go into our panel discussion. And first, because Holly, you've been the last speaker, you've been talking a little bit about data. And I was wondering, actually, when you were talking about that, what key pieces of data should I look at to understand how I'm performing on mobile?
Yeah, so I suppose for a hotelier, there's lots of data. So there's data in every sense, from marketing, booking engine, PMS, data can be coming out of our ears. But I suppose from our opinion and from what we do with our hotels, there's definitely some key pieces of data. And I think the first thing is just to know what their traffic is on mobile. So what % of your traffic is mobile? So kind of simple pieces of data, understand that shoppers switch devices, but what % is on each device? And then also as well, understanding what your own conversion rates and e-commerce percentage that you're contributing from mobile versus desktop. And then I think from them pieces of data, like try and understand what you can fix maybe, or what parts of the funnel. Oliver mentioned it earlier, but people do drop out, and where are they dropping out? So for example, if your desktop conversion rate is much stronger, which it usually is, why is that? And is there anything that you can do with the data you have to better that? So are there changes that you can make with your website or with your campaigns, or it could be something down to the technology that you're using? Do you need to reassess that to try and encourage that? Because it's proven hotels can perform on the device. They just need to have everything available to them. The big thing I think we always try and tell our clients though is that be careful when comparing yourself with another hotel or with someone else's data, because data is numbers, and you need to make sure that you're comparing like with like.
Okay, thank you. Now, Nikki, actually at Cendyn, you are very much about guest data. How do you gather data on potential guests before they make the booking?
Good question. So I think this is one of the biggest challenges at the moment, especially as kind of I mentioned briefly about the shift towards first-party data being so important. So being able to kind of gather that information before a booking means that you have more access to potential guests for the future, instead of relying on things like third-party cookies or data that will eventually be going away. So, I think really, Ben talked a lot about chatbots, which is a fantastic point, and just one of the many things you can do to really engage people before they've decided to make a booking. But also, have a think about how are you planning to sort of engage with those potential guests before they book. So maybe you have a newsletter that you want people to sign up to. Perhaps you have a blog or even some content marketing that you can entice them with. Maybe it's an offer. Maybe you have a loyalty system or a platform that they can perhaps join, and you can entice them to give information to perhaps get an offer in the future. And, we all know that whether you book direct or whether you book through an OTA, most people will always go to the hotel website before they make a booking, because they want to understand more about the brand and really immerse themselves and know what they're kind of getting themselves in for. So you have an opportunity, and I think especially on mobile, as people are on it all the time now, that we've got to capitalize on this and use design smartly on our websites to help drive people to the right places before they make a booking.
Yeah. And then I have a question, because Ben actually was talking about Ben, no more websites in the future. Does this mean no more emails? But I think also, did I understand your point correctly, that it actually is the opportunity for hotels to actually get direct contact with the guests, actually an issue that we have right now? And is that a way that we can use the chat box?
First, basically, when you make a prediction like this, it's only to point towards the direction. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the next 3 to 4 years. Okay, so the question is, right now, websites are repositories of static content. Okay, maybe the function of websites and the functionalities will drastically change. For example, they will be enabled by well, let's say conversations that, when a customer needs a very precise content, it will point the customer to the precise part where he can get a specific media or information. But what I meant is websites are part of a world that is changing due to the arrival of mobile. So in terms of no more websites in the future, maybe not. What I mean is, definitely the website will not have the same function anymore. When you are looking at your emails, like I was traveling this week, it's almost impossible to answer from a mobile device, and the answering times are really long. So I think that in the e-commerce area, I don't know if there will be no more emails in the future. What I know is that I went to a hotel like in London this week. I asked a question through the chat, which was not a chatbot, so I didn't get an answer. Then I didn't even think of email. I WhatsApped, okay, and I got an answer. And I think that email is just the least sexy way to send a request to a vendor. So email will probably still exist in the future, and you will still be able to send newsletters. But maybe it's not going to be the preferred way of customers to get an answer from you if they have something they want to ask. Was that clear?
Yeah, that's very clear.
Try to be concise.
Very, very good. Thank you. Now, if we talk about maybe online booking experience, Oliver, I know that you test and book a lot of things. Do you have maybe a personal experience, an online booking experience you could give a good example on?
Well, I think that, thanks for the easy question. I think that what I would like to mention in this context is that many times we're being a bit stuck in our own heads when comparing, as Hollie mentioned, our operation to other operations. But I think the consumer, and myself in this case, is much more impressed by other online retail platforms. My case in point here would be that it's much easier, much more comfortable, and much more interactive to buy something on a retail site than on a travel booking site. And the most impressive example I can maybe mention just from recently is ordering or selecting and ordering a present for my dear wife on mobile, because I was late buying her birthday present, as you do, and getting the level of service I had from an online retailer, both with answering my questions about size and weight of the actual thing I was buying, but also getting the transaction done fairly quickly, meaning that I could just enter my phone number. They would pick up from the phone number records, pick up my contact details, my address and everything, allow me to pay through payment portal with my in my mobile with my wallet, and then close the entire transaction in less than 2 or 3 minutes. And I haven't seen that same level of efficiency in the travel sector yet. So I'm not going to point out any individual travel sites or travel properties or hotel properties as being better or worse than the other. But I think that retail gives us a great example of how things can manage. I think that this is what we need to be looking at for inspiration and ideas, and not looking at our neighbor as a competitive operation, but looking at what the user experience is online or on mobile, and what are the competitors or the comparative points with other marketplaces that are performing better in capturing both data and interactions in order to secure a purchase.
Okay, well, good example. Nikki, I was actually also thinking about something else. Privacy changes with Apple. If I can make a sidestep, what tactics do you suggest helping with the impact on email on the email opening rate?
Yeah, so obviously this is a pretty new change. It's just happened in the past few weeks. So for those that don't know, it's the iOS 15 update on your Apple devices. So Apple Mail is now kind of providing that extra, by default, that extra privacy protection for users. So that means when you send, say a hotelier sends an email to a prospect or a guest, then it arrives in their inbox, it will automatically show that it has actually been opened, even though it hasn't. And that's because of how Apple are managing it through kind of a proxy server to hide IP address and so forth. So it actually, the end result of it is potentially the prospect of having overinflated open rates from your emails. So, and I think, in the context here, we've talked, and Ben, I think really, really interesting points you raised about kind of web and email and chat. And I do think we're definitely moving in that direction for sure. And chat and messaging is going to take over how people communicate with businesses. But I do think there is still a place for email. It will be around for a while. And even though this change, I think for some has been quite daunting and nervous about what does this mean for my benchmarks and how am I going to report out on email sends as a marketer. But actually, there's still a lot of research going on now that the update has happened. But I think it's a really good opportunity for us to look more at better types of engagement metrics like click-through rate or even booking acquisition. So from those that have opened and clicked your email, who actually then goes on to make a booking in a short period of time. So looking at those metrics of actual real life tangible engagement and looking on device as well to see whether people are opening on email, on mobile, or on their desktop. Having that information is really, really helpful because you can then tailor your design to make sure it's suitable for whichever device and make sure it's viewed well, and your call to actions on your emails are visible and hopefully easy for people to click through and purchase your offer.
Just a quick note here to make sure that it's clear for everyone. It's not because messaging, AI, etc. are around that web and mail stop to exist. Technology is about opening new doors, okay, not closing stuff. You still have flyers that you were using 20 years ago. It didn't disappear. It's just that there is a new thing that enables you to improve how you work. So
yeah, and actually, I think the pandemic has really propelled that forward because we're all, so much more reliant now on having things available within, minutes, being able to do contactless interactions, being able to speak to people via a message on a phone, as opposed to, kind of some of those older ways that have stuck around for a long time. Yes, they're still there, but I think it's been actually really good for us technologically to progress forward faster as we've had to adapt so quickly.
Well, then, if we go to this newer way of communicating, chatting, I mean, Benjamin, do clients really interact with bots, and don't they lose the human touch? And then, I mean, are they going to replace maybe staff even?
Okay, so basically there are like you have to make sure that you understand, like, you know, it's not because something talked that it is replacing a human. The idea is that on mobile, the natural format to access information is through interaction. So it's a very common mistake to like imagine that chatbots can replace humans, etc. Actually, they enable customers to access the information that they want, which is actually something that right now receptionists have to do manually every day. So in fact, it's actually humans that are doing the work of chatbots because, well, especially in our industry, like we are kind of very bad at understanding change. And since the receptionists are the people that actually have to do most of the work, well, they are just seeing increasing volume of conversations without really necessarily understanding what's happening. But in fact, do not confuse chatbots and humans. Chatbots are kind of more replacing browsers, enabling you to deliver digital service, but they are not here to replace humans. They are here because you have a need to structure your information, deliver it in small bits that people will be able to read. And these small bits needs to be available through all like the channels that you can imagine. And these channels, well, the way people access these channels, I'm thinking Instagram, I'm thinking Facebook, I'm thinking WhatsApp, I'm thinking also the chat on your website that is more and more attractive to customers, well, is short messages.
Mm. But then there's also this issue with chatbots. I mean, what happens if they don't have the answer to the question that's asked to them?
Oh, so here, of course, it can happen. Of course, it happens less and less because like the industry is, the technology is growing. The idea is when there is a question that is really specific, is really have value, there is an escalation process. Okay, and here what's interesting is that it needs to be planned very well. Because like the key thing that frustrates customer is not that, for example, a chatbot doesn't have the answer. That can happen. Of course, if you choose a chatbot that is bad, it will happen very often. If you choose a chatbot that is good and you manage it properly, it will not happen very often. Thing is, when it happens, you need to understand that your staff will not be able to step in. It's impossible. Like customers will stay maybe 10 seconds. They will not wait any longer. So in your escalation process, what you need to make clear to the customer is that the question was taken into consideration and it will be answered in a maximum of a certain amount of hours. And it will be answered through, like if it was a WhatsApp conversation, it can be through WhatsApp. But if it was a chat conversation, it can be answered by email, it can be answered by SMS, by WhatsApp, etc. So what you have to worry about or take care of when you are dealing with escalation processes is that you don't keep the customer waiting even for a second on a channel, okay? When there is a need for escalation, you let the customer know when more or less is going to receive an answer. And you make sure that the question is answered in the imparted amount of time. And if you do that, it's fine. Nobody will ever resent a chatbot for not giving the answer. People will resent you for just leaving them with a chatbot and nothing else. You see the difference?
Yeah. You know, you talk about bad chat boxes. I mean, I've had a few of these, and you just know that there's a robot there, and he doesn't really. He, of course, it's a he, doesn't really know what you're asking. Yeah.
Oh, well, just a quick note on this. Okay, we are very lucky in our industry because, for example, when you are dealing with a bank, with any service, you see, a bank, every bank is one of a kind. Okay, the reason why I focused on chatbots for hotels is because, like all hotels, despite their differences, they have the same needs. Okay, so here you have the potential for very specialized machine learning because all hotels receive the same set of questions. Like there is 10% of questions that can change from an hotel to another, but it's 90% of the same. Okay, so in fact, I've never seen an industry that has as much potential for the development of conversational agents than hospitality, because precisely all hotels have the same needs and there are a lot of them. Okay, So when you buy from a chatbot company that is using a generic AI, okay, so there are like such things which are like the equivalent of WordPress, but for AI. Now, basically, the chatbot is going to be very limited. When you are looking at a company that actually does not only do a chatbot, but develops its own AI, and that this AI is specialized in hospitality, you might get good results. But there is one last thing. In fact, the content that you put is also essential. You see, if your content is not really well done, then you might have a great AI, but bad results because you answer things that are not complete or do not make sense. So there is also like there is no strong or powerful chatbots without a good data management strategy behind.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. I think maybe let's go to the topic of personalization. I think you touched on that, almost all four of you. Actually, the guests want to have this feeling that you're talking to them personally. I thought maybe if we go to Nikki, do you have some personalization best practices when it comes to website? If we start with you.
Yeah, I do indeed. So there's lots of things that you can do. I'll share just a couple. And I think, it may feel a little bit overwhelming at first if you haven't done it before, and it's like, oh, how many versions of this do I have to create? But simple things like, again, if you have the ability to do personalization on your website, so you have data connected into it, from a data management system, a CRM, for example, you can tailor things like images. So if people land on a landing page and you have a bit of information about them, perhaps things that they have looked at in the past, interests they've shared, then you can tailor the images that they see on the site that are relevant to them. Perhaps they traveled with a family, so they see some more family photos instead of kind of romantic couple. Not that you can't do both, but that's one way to go with images. You can also tailor kind of special offers and packages. So, again, if you've seen that perhaps this person has traveled before and maybe they've had interest in spa, you could have a pop-up with a spa offer for them if they decided to book. And then just with those, I mean, I would always recommend A/B testing. So just try different things out, see what works, what doesn't. And if you're putting one out, test it with another thing instead of kind of leaving it to run for a while. Because if you have a different, a different variation of that and you see it one works better than the other, you can keep improving on your personalization tactics on the site. So well worth doing testing. There's lots more, but I won't take too much time on that.
Now I think maybe Hollie, I presume, because I seem to recall that we've been talking about that subject as well. Do you have a few examples of what you can do with your booking engine?
From a personalization perspective? Yeah. So I suppose the key aspect of that is knowing your customer. So, you can use lots of features within the booking engine process to try and customize what a customer will see. But one of the key things is structuring your rates and your availability to your key audience, because often what happens is you might not know something about that customer that's entering the process, so that you know your customer base, what that customer needs to be able to find within your booking process, and you're showing them the right things. So we would have a lot of kind of best case scenarios and examples around the best way to show their price, the best images to use, like Nicola has mentioned, and also as well the way that you message, you package your packages to try and just kind of personalize that experience. I suppose there's some very simple things that you can do in terms of if somebody's searched for certain dates previously, they can come back in and them dates are already pre-populated within their booking process, so they're not having to redo that. And then when you go kind of further outside of the booking process, you can do some really nice things with marketing, remarketing campaigns on social. relevant back to, you know, for example, Nicola could look to book a spa break or to buy a certain voucher, and then we're going to remarket that to her because we know she hasn't yet completed that booking. So it's about kind of the booking engine itself, but more and everything else that goes with that. So the data, the marketing, and just the messaging in general, trying to customize it as much as possible.
Okay, thank you. Then Oliver, I mean, I'm listening to this and I understand it, but what do you think? Is there not a line to cross between personalization and being invasive? When does engagement actually become too much, you think, for a guest?
Well, I think that both Nicola and Benjamin highlighted this very, very clearly, is that it has to be based on the customer premise, meaning that the customer creates the first step for engagement. I think we need to differentiate between engagement that we as product owners are looking for with our customers, which can be invasive. A very typical example would be that every customer interaction I have with a bank or with any facility company will result in me receiving an SMS or a follow-up email trying to grade the level of interaction I had with them. That's not the kind of interaction we're looking for. And I think this is also a clear sign of the times that people are getting very, very frustrated and being forced to rank and evaluate every level of interaction. Positive interaction on the other end, when it's not invasive, is geared towards responding to the customer's needs. So I think that somehow in marketing and in as product owners, we need to let the customers take the first step and steer the conversation. Then we need to provide, as Benjamin said, the right answers to all the questions they have. But we can take over the conversation with them starting to sell, pitch, ask them for a review or so forth on every single tidbit we do. That's where it gets invasive. And I think that smart companies avoid this. So whenever you call your bank or you're interacting with your preferred plumbing company, whatever you have there, every time you do an interaction, they come back to you and say, oh, well, you just spoke to our customer service. Can you grade us? That's not engagement we're looking at. So I think the level of invasiveness comes from companies wanting to be graded and getting reviews and some kind of score. That's invasive. The non-invasive part is when the customer owns the conversation, and we are basically, as product owners, are answering questions. That's where you create loyalty, that's where you create engagement and a level of trust that you're not overbearing them. And I think that's a very, very thin line. That's a bit tricky to achieve. And I'd be very happy to hear what Nikki has to say about how CRMs can enable and help in facilitating that. But I think that's the thin line not to cross.
Well, Nikki, would you know?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting, like when you're talking about so I think, from my perspective, if it's the third party data thing that makes me feel like that it's so you go to a website, you start looking for shoes, and then those shoes follow you everywhere you go then on the websites, and that, to me, I get frustrated with that, because I'm like, well, if I was going to buy them, probably would have bought them right then. But actually it's subtle remarketing that can work really well. However, there is a borderline, right? And I think that's where the invasiveness can take it to the next level as well as what you mentioned, Oliver. But I think that when it comes to a CRM, if you handle that person's data, accurately with permission-based, you're very clear about how and what you'll be using their data for, then when you communicate with that person, tailor it. I don't think, at that stage, when you're managing it from that perspective, it's very difficult to become invasive. It's very difficult to get, that user frustrated, because you're going about it in the right way. They've perhaps signed up through a different channel, like communicated with you via chat, or signed up for an email, or made a booking. So I think there's that level of transparency there that's really important now, that we should all be taking very seriously.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. And I love also this example of, okay, you've been Googling at something and it just keeps on following you. I mean, I bought the thing, or I'm not interested, right?
I'll just add on that topic. So I suppose we would do digital marketing for a lot of our booking engine clients, and remarketing is a really, really successful types of campaigns across different platforms that we do, but it's about being subtle with it. So not over bombarding. We maybe only do for a 7 or a 14-day window, frequency cap the ads, things like simple things really in a marketing space, but it's about doing it without overpowering it. But like we see the mobile conversion in particular, like on social ads, remarketing, like it's phenomenal if we do it right. So it definitely works. So we would never say we're not going to do it because someone might get annoyed. And I get annoyed too with the shoes following me around, but it still might make me buy the shoes. So
yeah, but I also think it's interesting when it's different with travel, right? Because there is a window of time where you're thinking about what you're going to purchase. So remarketing is hugely successful because when you do it right, as you said, Holly, and you do the timing accurately and in a subtle way with with the marketing tailored to that person, it's very likely that they're going to convert on the 3rd or 4th time, perhaps, if they've seen it, and maybe they won't have seen a competitor that they had previously seen, and I think it can be hugely successful for sure.
Yeah, I agree on that, and I think remarketing. I mean, it's less irritating than the point that Oliver took up. This constant need of giving feedback on how well you performed. You can almost hardly talk to a bank without them calling up in the end and say, "Well, okay, what did you think about this person?" And it just that annoys me. But remarketing, and I think also it has become better because it doesn't really follow me around that long anymore. I think we are almost at the end of the webinar. Maybe Oliver, I had the final question for you. Could you give like the 3 most important quick tips how the audience can improve mobile bookings?
Well, I think that looking at the hospitality sector, I think that start from the bottom. First, get yourself a booking engine that is powerful enough to handle mobile first, because this is where it's happening right now. Both in volume and conversions are, as we've seen from the data, almost up to par with desktop, but the volumes are so much higher. So get yourself a booking engine that can handle mobile conversions very, very quickly. The second tip is with regards to a different topic, but I mentioned it in my presentation, is look at your rates. We see this so frequently with our customers that their rate disparity is the one thing that discourages customers from buying on your site, where they can buy something else cheaper on an OTA platform or so. Your rate control is hugely important. And the third tip would be is if you want to dabble or dip into the pool of engagement, take small steps and move carefully. It's a process. It's nothing you can buy and complete in one step. It's slowly moving your communication with the customer into maybe a WhatsApp or a messenger platform, and try to play with that with it, sandbox it, so to speak. And you'll see interesting results happening, exactly what Benjamin mentioned earlier, disseminating maybe 90% of the repetitive questions about whether you have umbrellas or not will wind up in one part of your communication funnel, but not affect the other funnels. So I think that's, so dabble with it carefully when you start creating engagement platforms, and take it step by step. You don't have to do everything at once. So these are the 3 tips I would recommend.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And I think we've already come to the end of our hour. Before you go, there is another webinar. It's going to be on the 18th of November, and we're going to talk about travel statistics in the hotel industry. We have speakers from the Hotel Network, Trust You, EREV Max, and more, and you will be seeing me again. If that was a good thing, I don't know. Well, we will send the recording after this webinar to your email address. And if you have any questions you would like to put to any of the panelists, please feel free to email them directly. If you don't have their contact details, email to the Revenue Forum website and we'll make sure to put you into contact with them. Now, there's this other thing happening, and that is on the 12th of October. It's Tuesday already, and it has been actually taking up my life completely the past months. This is something that is very unique. It's a whole day event, and it's held simultaneously in Stockholm and London and Rimini. These are physical events with their own agendas and their own participants also. So I'm really happy to be holding physical events again. What we're going to do is to stream the most important parts online, thus also creating an online event with its own agenda. It's on this Tuesday. It's going to take the whole day. If you log in online, you will have access to the material even 6 months after. So if you think, okay, I'm not going to be able to do the whole day on the 12th or not at all, just register and we make sure that you will be inspired for 6 months to come. You'll find all information on www.leadershipfromchaos.com, and Leadership from Chaos is the name of our event in this time. Before I close off, maybe some final nice words from our speakers. Oliver, do you have some nice tips to give as final words?
Well, I'll go back to being a revenue manager in a revenue management company. Keep control of your rates. That's one important factor in doing whatever you want to do. And good luck with your mobile conversions in the future. Okay,
thank you. Benjamin.
Okay, so basically you're at the same crossroads as you were 20 years ago when web arrived. Try to not make the same mistake again by underestimating a new digital channel. Just if you want to understand that, imagine that before people moved from paper to web, and now people are moving from web to mobile. So it's a different world. Do not underestimate it, because otherwise you will end up in the same situation as you ended up with web, and it took you a lot of time to get back all the accumulated lateness that you had. So it's up to you now. You know what to do.
Thank you for that, Benjamin. Nicola.
Great. I think I would just say, before tackling your mobile strategy, it probably feels a little bit overwhelming. We've gone through quite a lot, but I would just say start with thinking about your data set first, clean that up, get that sorted, and you'll be good to go with whatever you do next.
Thank you. So, right, Hollie?
I think there's definitely one key thing, and we say it to clients all the time, but to know their customer, know their mobile customer. So do like a simple task of just spending time walking through the online experience on their phones, looking at the emails, looking at the ads, going through the booking end experience, using the website, pretending you're a customer and trying to do the things you want your customers to do. And is everything right? We know mobile conversion can be really strong. We see really strong mobile conversion with the clients that we work with. And if everything is in the right place, it can work for hotels. It is definitely possible.
Thank you. Well, I really learned a lot the past hour. I hope you all found it very inspiring as well. As said, my life has been taken up by everything that's going to be happening on Tuesday. And what we have been taking the intake on, at least for the Stockholm event, is to say, okay, it's now October, probably our post-COVID life is going to start. How is the world changing? But mostly, how are you adapt to this change? And I loved also what you said about that, Benjamin. We are here and we just need to adapt to anything that's going to happen because the world is changing. I really hope to be meeting you either online or physically in Stockholm. Otherwise, if you are in the UK and Italy, it's also being held in Rimini and London. Thank you so much for your time and hope to see you then on our webinar in November. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.